Your milk may contain unauthorized antibiotics thanks to the Food and Drug Administration (FDA). Milk supplies in the United States have been tested for decades for the presence of certain antibiotics. Milk found to contain unacceptable levels of the selected 6 drugs is discarded. However, consumers are still being exposed to antibiotics in conventionally produced milk, and the FDA knows about it. It appears some dairy farmers are slipping their cows antibiotics that are not on the government's testing list, nor on the list of acceptable drugs to give to lactating cows. The presence of these antibiotics was revealed in a newly released FDA report entitled Milk Drug Residue Sampling Survey. This means that unless you choose organic milk and milk products, you could be exposing yourself and your family to these drugs. Read about reasons to choose organic grass-fed dairy cheese milk. Testing in the United States. Drug residues are regulated by a variety of both federal and state food safety programs. The FDA and the states cooperate with the dairy industry. In the National Conference on Interstate Milk Shipments (NCIMS), under the NCIMS graded program, regulatory agencies in each state must report milk testing activities to the National Milk Drug Residue Database. A milk sample must be taken from every bulk tank of raw milk collected at each dairy farm, as well as another sample from every truckload of raw milk that arrives at a dairy plant. Milk samples from arriving truckloads must be tested for the presence of at least 4 of 6 antibiotics, the beta-lactam drugs amoxicillin, ampicillin, ceftiofur, cefepime, cloxacillin, and penicillin G. If the results are positive, the raw milk samples from every farm that supplied the raw milk in that truckload must be tested as well. Any milk that contains illegal drug residues is not allowed to enter the human food supply chain. Milk testing survey findings. The FDA conducted a survey in which they tested 1,912 samples of milk from dairy farms for 31 different kinds of medications. These included antibiotics, nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and an antihistamine. 2 types of dairy farms were surveyed. Targeted farms were those that had a history of producing milk contaminated with antibiotics. Samples from these farms were compared with a control group of samples from non-targeted farms, which had no such record and so were not under suspicion. A milk sample was considered to be positive if any one of the 31 drugs that had an established tolerance or safe level was found to be greater than those levels. The researchers discovered the following: 11 out of 953, 1.15%, milk samples taken from targeted farms were positive. 1 sample contained 2 different drug residues. 4 out of 959, 0.42%, milk samples from non-targeted farms were positive. Therefore, overall 15 milk samples, 0.78%, were positive for drug residues. The drug residues found included fluorphenicol, ciprofloxacin, gentamicin, sulfamethazine, tilmacosin, and tulathromycin. None of the drugs discovered are currently required to be tested for under the Pasteurized Milk Ordinance for Grade A milk, nor were any of them approved by the FDA to be given to lactating dairy cows. So what is the FDA going to do about their findings?